Okay, so I am gonna be heading out right now. I'm gonna go to my office and I'm gonna grab my MacBook Pro 14-inch with the M1 chip, and I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna call it is the Apple OS 26 like workflow. I'm gonna get that computer, and I'm gonna get my other Apple devices together, and I want to figure out a workflow that I'm gonna try to stick to for 30 days because I've been jumping back and forth between technology for a little while. I believe that OS and all of that whole setup is going to be kind of hitting the basically the official release. So everything should work pretty smooth. I have the betas installed on pretty much all of my devices. I don't know. The only device that I know for sure that I don't have, obviously, or that I cannot obviously, but that I can think of is the Apple Vision Pro. So anyways, I'm going to my office. I'm going to grab that MacBook, and then I'm going to be right back, and I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do. Hopefully this was on. All right, safety first. Safety first. Okay, so I'm in the vehicle going to the office, and I had to grab a couple devices. On my keychain, I've got an AirTag. I would take it out, but it's on my keys. That's one thing that I typically grab. And so the Apple ecosystem, I like the AirTags on the keys. And then I also have like a wallet like this, and that is has an AirTag on there. And I have the Apple Card as well. So this is one setup that I use, is a wallet that is able to have an AirTag installed. And then another thing that I use when I'm going a little lighter, because this is kind of thick, is I have the MagSafe Apple Wallet thingy. So that sticks on the back of the phone, but I can only use 3 cards in there. So sometimes that's not enough. Other than that, I have the Apple Watch Ultra right here, and I use Apple Pay on that. So the majority of the time, I'm actually using Apple Pay from the wallet. From my watch. And so anyways, those are the main things that I grab. And then sometimes if I don't need the camera, if I don't need like my camera on the phone, I simply just use the Apple Watch Ultra with cellular, and then I'm good to go, for the most part. I'm good to go at that point. If someone needs to reach me, it comes through. If I need to reach someone, it comes through. Thinking in my head, the big thing would be like if an accident happens or something like that, sometimes a camera would be nice. But then you're kind of thinking of like a fearful sense, but usually a lot of things like being able to be reached, usually that's like a fearful thing, but sometimes it's just a genuine convenience. Also, taking pictures, sometimes that's just a genuine convenience. If something is interesting and you're like, oh, I really want to remember that, boom, you can take a picture, and it's pretty easy. So that's one aspect of the ecosystem I'm trying to figure out. All right, so I'm at the office here. That's the computer, and I've just got to disconnect it from the monitors. Well, all of these things. I got to figure out a hub. That's part of what I want to figure out there. I usually stick my phone there, but I got a lot of hard drives here, so I got to disconnect those, and then I'm going to be on my way. All right, so now I've got my devices home, and I'm basically going to figure out my plan. So I tried to make the video look cool, but now I'm gonna grab. All right, so I've got my phone here, and so it's the iPhone 16 Pro, and right now I've got this little magnetic back thing on there. It's kind of cool, And then I have this angled so I can just set it down on like a flat surface and it's still angled up. I used to have the matte screen protector on here, but I kind of liked the new glossy look of the iOS 26. So, and I broke that screen protector, so it was perfect timing to take that off. So anyways, that's my phone. That's the device that I use. And then I use, let's see if you can see in here, I use like different focus modes. So those sync across my devices, which is pretty nice. So like my watch, and then, so let's grab another device here. I actually have an iPad Pro. Okay, so this is the Apple Watch Ultra that I use, just the first gen. It works great. And then I had I think it was a third gen iPad Pro 12.9 with the Magic Keyboard and all of that, but that stopped working, just a black screen. And then it started working for a little while, and then it stopped working. So, aside from that, I have an iPad mini right here. And then, so this one, I do have the paper-like screen protector on there. You can probably see that. And then I have the Apple Pencil. So, on this one, I mainly got it to be kind of like a journaling utility and something along those lines. And also just kind of like what was it, like a personal assistant or a digital assistant, like a planner. You know, it's something that's kind of portable. And then I like to have little like widgets set up. So I just kind of swipe over in the morning, and then I can check, you know, I've got my, we'll see there, I've got my weather, see when the sunset is, tells me like how well I slept from the watch that I track it with. And then I've got some HomeKit accessories that you can see. So like my lights, and then a fan and my nightstand. So I can turn those on, or I can have automations, which is kind of cool. So like, you know, at sunrise, turn on my lights, or, you know, turn on the fan. I don't know, whatever you can think of. That's pretty cool. I genuinely think that that's pretty cool. I had a outlet controlling like a little water fountain, and that was kind of cool. I like the sounds of water fountain. And then I've got the widget for the battery life for like for the iPad itself, or my AirPods, and then the Apple Pencil. On the phone, it shows my watch. It doesn't show the Apple Watch on here. So, and then another widget that I have is like, it is my calendar down there. See if you can see that kind of. But, so that just kind of shows me like on a list, or like on a time scale, what I'm going to be doing. And then like item by item, there's another one down below. And then below that widget, I've got a reminders, and that just shows me all of my stuff that I've got for today. So when I make a new reminder, I assign a date to it, and then as that comes up, I can kind of just in the morning open this up, and I just, like I said, I check the weather, I check my calendar, and then my to-dos, kind of my reminders show up in here as well. And then the bottom one isn't populating right now for some reason, but that is the mail. So I can see like new emails and stuff like that. In addition to those things, I like to use the journal. Like if I'm handwriting stuff, that's kind of cool. Anything that maybe like artistic, this is kind of a cool thing. And I got it to try to do more of that actually. So yeah, that's one thing right there with that. And then as I talked about a little bit earlier, is I do like the AirTag system. So I've got one on the wallet here, and then this is the one that I've got on my keys. And then I also have some that I throw in like my backpack or my camera case, which I don't have out here right now. I also have some HomePod minis, and then I use AirPlay devices as well. So like I have a Marantz AVR that supports AirPlay, so I do like using that. Behind me, I've got the Apple TV 4K, and that's obviously connected to a TV. And it's pretty cool doing casting the videos. And then I listen to like audiobooks and stuff like that, or even just downloaded audio files. So playing that through the TV or being able to play whatever is playing through the Apple TV on like the different AirPlay speakers that I have around the house. That's kind of cool. There is just a whole bunch of integrations. There's even more. There's a ton more that I use the Apple ecosystem for. And then the MacBook Pro here is, another device. And this is going to be, it's the 14-inch, so it's not too huge. I can, not if I don't hold it out like the fish one. Oh, look at that. But if I just kind of show, how big it is. So this is nice because what I do is, I have like a desk that I work with here at home, but then I also have a desk at my office, of course. And then so I've got this backpack here, and I just slide that in, and then I'm trying to utilize docks and stuff like that. So when I'm there, plug in a cable, the monitor's connected, the network is connected, power is connected as well through one cable. And audio, but I actually don't have that solution. I do like to wire the audio. Anyways, so there's just a bunch of stuff that I use, and I figured I'd just kind of make a video on that and try to figure out the best, like just a really good way to where the technology, it's not taking away from the experience, and it's actually allowing me to like improve the experience that I'm having. So like, for example, the watch, when I'm out kayaking and stuff like that, it is pretty convenient to be able to communicate with someone through this. I can do like the walkie-talkie, or I can just talk into like the text thing. There's a ton of stuff, so it's pretty cool. And then there's a contrast side to this is, what if I was outside of the Apple ecosystem? And then also, is how I'm using the stuff, is it helping me? Or is it kind of like is it somehow taking away from the experience? As weird as that could be, that could be a possibility. And then, so some of the next stuff that I want to dive into is like the advanced data protection with Apple, how I'm using the Hide My for the email functionality, the password and passkey integration, Safari profiles, because when I'm at the office and I switch my focus mode, the Safari page profiles adjust as well. So there's a lot of stuff. Anyways, that's just kind of a verbal outline of what I do, and then how I want to continue improving, because with I've basically been referring to it as AppleOS 26 across the board. There's a ton of new integrations, and I kind of want to try to figure out how I can use the technology to, like I said, increase and improve my experience.